AI can build you a genuinely good website now. I'm not going to pretend that it can't. But here's what nobody tells you: the output is only as good as what you know to ask for. But the problem is, you don't know what you don't know. So the likelihood of you having AI build you a website that looks finished but is quietly missing all the things that actually get you found on Google is super high. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a local service business, a painting and cabinet guy that used AI to build his website. But I want to be clear up front. This guy does genuinely good work, and honestly, he was smart to do it this way. Most contractors either have no website or one that was built 10 years ago and doesn't even work. So he went and leveraged AI to build something that looks beautiful. So this isn't me trashing him, it's actually the opposite. But that's exactly why this is such a good example. Because the site looks totally finished. And if you're a business owner, you'll likely end up seeing the same things on your site. It looks done, so you assume it's done. So we're gonna get under the hood and I'm gonna show you the things that you wouldn't know are missing and the things that are quietly costing him calls that he wouldn't even know whether they're there or not. And stick with me till the end because the third one is something that almost nobody is doing right and it's becoming more and more important. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is to do more home services. They're a painting and cabinet refinishing company in the Lehigh Valley, which is local to me. And right off the bat, the site looks great. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna run an audit on the whole site, and then I'm gonna go through the site page by page while it's loading, and then we'll look under the hood a little bit. So first thing I'm gonna go do is go to pophq.ai, which is actually my SEO audit tool that I built. I took a lot of the other SEO tools that I've found and kind of put something together that explains everything in plain English. So rather than getting all these like SEO like jargon terms and all this stuff, this tells you exactly what's up with the site, um, and in plain English, and it crawls it really quickly for you. So while that's going, let's take a look. So first off, the headline looks great. Premium home painting and cabinet refinishing in Lehigh Valley tells you exactly what they do and what I should do next. I can get a free estimate or view our work. I'd potentially just leave this at just get a free estimate. Sometimes when you give people too many options, they choose zero options. So that's the only suggestion I would make here, but the view our work isn't a bad idea. All right, so as I continue to go down, oh, I love it. They have some before and afters. This is actually great. This is like a new thing that a lot of sites are doing, where it shows. The only thing I would do here is like these photos were taken at like different angles. So maybe just like take the same photo twice. I know that's hard to do sometimes. But this one looks great. Love it. Our signature transformation packages. I would probably change this headline a little bit. Like how we transform homes in the Lehigh Valley or something like that. Maybe a little more specific to what things like what people may search. Then same with this headline. It's a little generic. Craftsmanship, communication, and clean workmanship. Let's get a little more specific about the area, about what specifically you do. So it's like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. You know, hand cabinet craftsmanship in the Lehigh Valley. Like you always want to do something location based with the headlines too, and specific services and products of what you have. So like nobody's searching craftsmanship, communication, and clean workmanship, right? So they're looking for a painters that don't leave a mess behind, or cabinet refinishing done right, or like something like that would be a little better. And then I would probably add a little more text here, just a little bit more about the business. And then it goes to an about us page, which is great. What homeowners are saying, but what homeowners are saying about to do more home services or about our cabinet refinishing and or house remodeling or whatever you want to put, but something a little more specific. You have a video here, which is great. And it looks like it's an embed on YouTube, which is awesome. And it's a click to play. That's a good thing. You don't want this just like playing in the background. That's bad for this. That's bad for load speeds. And then we have portfolio, which have some looks like before and after photos. Mostly just after photos, which is still fine. That's good. I would do those before and afters that were on the homepage. I'd add them here too. Reviews, great. About craftsmanship warranty. So I would probably also do an about page, like about us here as well. So yeah, this goes over your warranty. Cool. That's good to have. Your contact page. with your form hours, what happens next, that's great. And then areas we serve. And looks okay, all of these are clickable too, so that's good. What I would say about the areas pages specifically is I think each of these can have a little more text underneath. So again, like areas we serve, that's with the townships, and that's all good. Um, and then but you're not saying the services you offer, right? So like serves homeowners through the Lehigh Valley, our service area. So like let's talk about the service you provide as well. Like these are all the things that will set you apart from your competition. Because when people search for cabinet refinishing in Lower Nazareth Township, the more you talk about cabinet refinishing in Lower Nazareth Township on your website and on that page, the easier it is for people to find you, basically. Interior cabinet and cabinet. Perfect. That is exactly right. Um, and you have some, local landmarks and stuff in here. That's good. Contact form at the top. Some photos. Frequently asked questions. I do think some other pages were missing FAQs, which that's really really important. You want to make sure that every FAQ or every page has an FAQ section. But overall, not bad. So as I said before, like this site, from looking at it, this site looks fantastic. It looks 95% of the way there. There's some minor little adjustments that I personally would make, but overall, this is a fantastic website. At least it looks that way. So I'm really curious to see what this report shows and how the site kind of holds up to searchability, indexability, how Google finds it, how Google views it, and how likely the site is to be recommended by AI when people search. So let's take a look. All right. So the audit is done, and honestly, this is actually in pretty good shape. So the first thing that stands out to me is that the site's kind of slow. That is pretty normal when it comes to a lot of these AI built websites, or even websites that are built on like Squarespace and GoDaddy and Wix and all of that. Wix isn't too bad, but a lot of these site builders, because they're a drag and drop and they make it really easy to build, they load a bunch of stuff outside of it like a wrapper, and that tends to slow sites down. So that's why a lot of like web developers and web designers will always recommend a custom coded website, something on WordPress maybe. Not going to really make or break. It's definitely nice to have. So search is a B plus. That's good. That's not bad. Socials are a C. So I don't remember seeing any of their socials linked anywhere. Let's take a look. You do have Facebook here, but it's not clickable actually. So that's probably what that means. And I imagine you have Instagram. I think you do have Instagram. He does have Instagram. So yeah, I would definitely link those down there. Like you have LinkedIn, YouTube, all that. Those you want to be linked here as well. The structure is a B plus, so that's probably fine. Images are an A, which means they're not too big, which tells me it's not images that are the issue with the site speed. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That is probably whatever platform the site is built on. That other things might just not be optimized. There is a video on the one page so that could have something to do with it. It depends. Like I said, site speed isn't really going to make or break a whole lot when it comes to local businesses. That's more for like global websites and stuff like that, where the competition is worldwide. So I wouldn't stress about it. AI ready. This is probably going to be more about the FAQs and question based content than anything. And schema is an A, links are an A, technical is an A. So honestly, this site is actually pretty decent. But there are a few things that I think would kind of push it over the limit, help him book, get more site visitors, get more calls, book more jobs, and that's what we're going to go through. So the main issues, one page is missing a meta description. So that's the description when people search and your page shows up on Google. There's a headline and then there's a little blurb underneath. That's your meta description. One page has no schema markup, and that's basically the code that tells Google about your business. So Google not only crawls your website, like what we see, but there's also stuff behind the scenes, specific code that only Google can see. And it's really important to have schema markup on every single page because Google is likely to miss certain information if it's not in the schema markup, basically. no FAQ content. So yeah, most pages don't have an FAQ, and the FAQ and question-based content is the biggest way to get recommended by AI. So if people are searching for your services in ChatGPT, the best way to show up for those searches and questions is to have FAQ and question-based content. No content dates. So that's another thing with AI. It's going to favor recency. ChatGPT and Gemini and all of these AI chats and tools have a recency bias. So the more up to date your website is with content dates on the page and on the schema markup, the more likely it is to recommend you. And those social profile links in the schema. So not only are the social sharing links on the site incomplete, they're not in the schema markup as well. So those are all the things that we want to go through. All right, so we're actually going to go through each one of these issues and see, just because it was flagged doesn't mean it's necessarily an issue. So we're going to go through that. It's important to keep in mind that these tools are tools. They're not gospel. Sometimes they make mistakes too. That's why it's important to understand these things when you're running these audits as well. So first thing we're going to look at is the missing meta description. So this affected page is /category and category. So this is probably, let's take a look. I think his website was built on WordPress actually. Yeah, so his page was built on WordPress. So this is likely just one of those WordPress like leftover pages. So it's not really a big deal. I wouldn't stress about it too much. So that's good news. The number one thing I always find on most websites are missing meta titles, missing meta descriptions, and heading tags either being not there at all or structured incorrectly. So a lot of times people have multiple H1 headings, multiple or no H1 headings, or they won't have it structured in the right hierarchy. So maybe there's an H2 under an H3, and I'm not going to get too technical about that, but that's the number one thing that I find on most sites is missing meta titles, missing meta descriptions, and heading tags not being done appropriately or correctly. So this site passed that test. That's great. Fantastic. So the next issue is the schema markup. Floating buttons, sticky, get free estimate buttons. Okay, so this is a button. So this is another WordPress issue. So that's fine. Not a big deal. I'm not going to stress about it. Great. The FAQ content I'm going to save for last. But the number two thing I tend to find a lot is the social sharing and social profiles in the schema markup. So these are things where you want to show Google and other AI chats that you have multiple accounts or listings or profiles throughout the internet, right? So you might have a website, a Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and then all of the directories you're in as well, right? So you want to add into your schema markup all of those social tags, all of those social links, as it's called the same as. So basically you're telling Google that this website is the same as this Facebook profile, is the same as this Instagram profile. And it's able to lump them all together to build a more authoritative online presence. So 11 pages don't have that. We already know that a lot of these pages, areas we serve, the blah, 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 like some of these are actually fine. The hello world, that's like WordPress thing. But cabinet refinishing versus refacing, that you need your social tags on there. I'm sure this gets a lot of clicks, or it could. So those are really important. And also, more importantly, this is something I forgot to mention. When people share you, or if you post something on your Facebook profile with the link to your website, it's not going to show up with any sort of image. That's what this open graph means. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but it's just something that's important. And then no social profile links in the schema. We already talked about that. That's on the home page. There's no schema markup for your same as, like I said, your same as links. That tells Google that you have all of these other profiles and this is all the same business. And please show me to more people. Right? So those are the top two things. And then before I get into the third, I want to talk about the content could be clearer and more direct. I want to see what this tool shows as an issue and what it suggests. Some of the things I suggested on the other page when I was on the site was that we can be more specific about some of the content on the pages. We go to a little more in depth with exactly what you do, your services, where you do them, all of that. So that's what I was expecting it to say here, but the tool's not that great. It's a tool. The last thing, FAQ content. I already talked about it. but most of your pages are missing FAQ content. And I'm going to say that if you're a business owner, I'm going to assume that most of your pages are missing FAQ content. And the biggest thing that I see is if it does have FAQ content, it's got like that accordion thing, right? Where if you click on it, it then opens up the answer. So that's actually something that's fairly new. You don't want to do that anymore. You actually want the question and the answer to be on the page at all times, because that's going to be the best way for Google to actually find you. So I did notice that he had FAQ content and it seemed like it was correct. This is actually fantastic, and I'm pleasantly surprised that this was done correctly. So I mean, beyond that, I'm gonna be really honest. The site is in a lot better shape than I would have expected. Like I said, AI can build you a great site, but there's always going to be little tiny details that set you apart from your competition. So the bottom line is this guy actually built a genuinely beautiful site. There were only a few little minor gaps that I would have suggested. And the thing is, if you don't have someone who knows these things that are looking at your site, they would have gone unnoticed for a long time. And these are things that might not make or break your entire business, but they're the things that are going to set you apart from your competition and help you show up more when people search for your services in your service area. If you're curious how your site looks under the hood, I'll drop the link for this tool below. And if you want me to do the same breakdown for you, drop a comment or send me a message and I'd be happy to chat.